Tired of restless nights? At Lisa, they know good sleep is essential for mental, physical, and emotional health. From memory foam mattresses to hybrids that keep you cool all night long, Lisa's mattresses offer exceptional comfort and support, with free delivery and 100 nights to try out your mattress in the comfort of your home. Go to lisa.com today and get 20% off all mattresses. That's LEESA.com and use code IHEART for an extra $50 off your purchase. Remember, no matter who you are, there's a Lisa just for you.
You know, some people say that Odoo business management software is like fertilizer, the way it promotes growth and all. But other people say Odoo is like a magic beanstalk because it grows with your company and is also magically affordable. And there's some people who would even say Odoo's individual software programs come together to build the perfect suite like building blocks. Well, Odoo is all of these things. Fertilizer, magic beanstalk, building blocks for business. So sign up now at odoo.com. ODOO.com.
So did you see Tenet?
No, because I don't want to die. Did you see it?
No, I also don't want to
Yeah,
die.
it tracks. That's smart.
Surprise!
Oh, man.
What did you guys do this time? Jesus.
Well, Cecil, we know how you're doing your episodes this week and next about the Battle of Stampede Ridge.
Stamford Bridge. Stamford.
Right?
Stamford Bridge.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we recreated the battlefield for you as a gift.
You replaced our podcasting recording studio with a 12th century muddy field.
The smell.
Mm-hmm. Yes, 12th century, down to the last cobblestone,
So
by
good.
the way.
What on earth would make you guys think that I would want to do this? The mics are covered in hay. Are those real horses over there?
Yeah.
Because, you know, battle
battle.
thing that you're doing.
Because here's the deal, guys. I absolutely fucking love it. It's amazing.
Fantastic.
Nice.
So glad to hear it.
Dibs on Duke of Normandy. Duke of Normandy.
yeah.
I'm
yours.
it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
For sure. You get Duke of Normandy.
Who's the dunk of normalcy?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to Citation Needed, the podcast where we choose a subject, read a single article about it on Wikipedia, and pretend we're experts because this is the internet and that's how it works now. I'm Noah and I'm going to be leading this army tonight, but there are other heirs to my title. First up, three men whose battles have generally started with both players shuffling their decks, Cecil, Heath, and Ela.
Okay, don't king shame Noah.
There was
Come
no
on.
shame. No
Yeah, you know
shame.
better than that.
Don't act like you don't want to get some of this deck game.
Right? Right?
I'm just so honored that Noah thinks I'm smart enough to play any trading card game. It's really, this is a big day for me.
I don't think that's what he was implying.
And also joining us tonight is a man whose battles generally begin when asked to turn on a piece of electronic equipment, Tom.
Okay, turning things on has never been a strong suit of mine. I've never said it was. Never claimed otherwise.
Yeah.
That's
It's a
something
disease,
that all
technically.
of us podcasters share, really. Now, before we get going tonight, I want to remind our listeners that the job market is thinning out, and you know, if this gig falls apart, at least two of our cast members aren't qualified for anything but roving mercenary. So, if you'd like to help them avoid that fate, be sure to stick around till the end of the show. And with that out of the way, tell us, Tom, what person, place, thing, concept, phenomenon, or event will we be talking about today?
Today we will be discussing the year 1066, but just part one of it, because some years need more than one part, man. This is the Battle of Stamford Ridge today.
Bridge. That's okay.
No, I get it. Not everybody can fit an entire year into a single episode. It takes a lot of skill to do that. And Cecil, you read the article. You probably watched a documentary or two, read a book or two, recreated all of this painstakingly with Legos and minute detail. Are you ready to weave the tale?
Well, let's not neglect staring for hours at an 11th century tapestry, Noah.
I feel like we should neglect that, but we didn't now. Because you do the edit. That's it. All right, so where does this story begin, Cecil?
All right, so our main story takes place in the year 1066. But in order to grasp all the characters, we have to go back a little bit and get a lay of the land and meet some of the major players. So mostly this story will be about a guy named William the Bastard. Lots of people in the 11th century had interesting nicknames that stuck with them, and it also helped differentiate people because there was not a plethora of first names to go around.
Right. Yeah, noises are hard to come up with. You got William, and then you got Will. Fuck.
Okay, Heath. Awful judgy for a guy who went by Chunk for a presidential administration.
Longer than that.
We're not going to start with William. We're going to start with the King of England in 1065, Edward the Confessor. Edward was the son of Aethelred the Unready.
Yeah, he was so unready, the A seems to run right into the E in his name. Notice here.
Aethelred the Unready. He's that king that like gets out to his horse, only have to run back into the castle because he forgot his flagon of mead. And just, fuck, come on,
Constantly
Aethelred.
patting himself down.
You look fine. You look. What do you mean? You can't be sad. I said.
Aethelred was the King of England from 978 to 1016, kinda. I mean, there was a short exile in there from 1013 to 1014, but he was basically the king for a long goddamn time. When he died, there was this weird chess match with multiple pieces, except these pieces were people, and when you got knocked off the board, you didn't come back when a pawn made it to the other side. People were exiled, people were killed.
I just realized that. We were just being like, oh, poor person tried to have some social mobility. We sacrifice you.
We'll trade him for
or
a
a
zombie
knight.
queen.
So people were exiled, people were killed, widows married new kings, they supported new sons over their older sons, and they died young because it was the past.
Well, to be fair, until we discover immortality, everyone who dies does it because it's past. I mean,
So during a lot of this time, Edward the Confessor was in exile. England was too hostile for him as he was the legal heir to the throne. If he would have stepped foot into England at the time without an army of sufficient size, he'd have been killed. But at a certain point, his half-brother, Harthacnut, calls him back to England to make Edward I know. He has to buy a vowel in there somewhere, or at least do a shift. But that's how you pronounce it. It's Harthacnut. There's a C and it's C nut at the end. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
But, so Harthacnut does call him back to England.
See, no, woo, woo.
And make Edward the official heir because Harthacnut's dying.
All right, let's be honest. King Harthacnut was not working out. No.
Yeah. That's what happens when you settle on any noises for a name.
yeah, they really just should have stuck with William.
This guy is his half brother because his dad, Canute,
Heath.
See, not woo woo.
he married Edward's bio mom after killing Edward's dad, which is very awkward. That's got to be a weird Thanksgiving. Anyway, after Harthacnut's death, Edward became king in 1042 and remained king until very early in 1066.
Okay, all right. I think I know the rest of this story. See, then he meets a meerkat and a warthog, and they sing some songs, and they're going to learn a little something about themselves along the way.
So now we get to the real problem with royal succession. It was pretty
going
easy.
Swimmingly before.
Yeah, well, it was pretty easy with sons, half sons, and people with big ass armies. But now Edward the Confessor has no heirs. There are really three people that could possibly take over the throne. The first is Harald Hardrada. He's the current king of Norway and really one of the last badass Vikings. There's Harold Godwinson, who's basically the most powerful lord in England at the time. And then there's the Duke of Normandy, William the Bastard, who's across the English Channel in what would eventually become France.
Okay, so we can choose between a Viking, Nazi hyperbole, and William the asshole. Tough. This is tough. Okay.
I do want to remind people who complain about the Democratic primaries, though, that this is technically what they replaced. Right? So
It was all Iowa caucuses for a long
So in late 1065, Edward the Confessor fell ill and then fell into a coma. He at this point has no heir, but before he died in 1066, he briefly wakes up from his coma to say that he commends Harold Godwinson to protect his wife and his kingdom.
Absolutely not.
I know, right? Yeah, everybody afterward is like, I was on base the whole time. Everybody's
he agreed
got a
with
story.
me when I said it, though, right? He kind of nodded, didn't he?
Yeah, he also commends that Jingly the Jester is the number 2 king, and he told me that. I'm Jingly.
You know, to be honest, though, this is probably the best move if true. Harold Godwinson is the Earl of Wessex at the time, and he's the most powerful lord in the land. His family has basically been the people who decide who gets the throne just by being their ally. So it's only logical that he would be the person who could handle the job. He also isn't someone from another land coming in to claim the throne, like William or Harold Hardrada. So the day after Edward kicks it, Harold Godwinson is the new king of England.
Yeah, his campaign slogan was, you're going to be tired of all the God winning. And he was right. He was very right.
Actually,
Yeah. So tired
So
of it.
that didn't sit too well with his brother Tostig.
Heath.
okay. Noises.
Tostig was exiled from England.
Okay, come on. Was there, at this point, is there anyone left in England? Everybody's been exiled. Where are they going off to?
Also, like, how is that place not better than being in England, right? How is it that they get exiled and they're like, I want to get back to England. That weather, the weather and the shiny nice
I miss
beaches.
the food.
Yeah, right?
Now, Tostig has a total hate on for his brother, the king. Tostig decides to go raise troops to take over the throne for himself, and he actually heads to Normandy to talk to William. I guess nothing comes of this, and he leaves to go to Norway to convince their king, Harold Hardrada, to invade England. Harold Hardrada started his military career as a mercenary and a military commander before deciding to declare himself king of 3 countries, Denmark, Norway, and England.
I get it. The 3 nations too polite to say no. It makes sense. I get it.
Yeah, right.
I, by the way, am king of Canada on that same.
See, and now you are.
And now you will be forever. Turns out he couldn't enforce all these declarations. I mean, he raided Denmark from 1046 to 1064, but he could not defeat the other guy who said he was king. So at a certain point, he declared the Danish throne was made of sour grapes and that he totally didn't want it. Coincidentally, he was also visited around this time by Tostig Godwinson, the brother of the King of England that wanted some revenge. And they decided to team up and invade Northumbria, which is basically the giant middle stripe on England.
Yeah, the skid mark of England, if you will.
So how did Harold have a claim to the throne? This is Harold Hardrada. At one point, Harthacnut, the former king of England, and Harold Hardrada had a pact. If one of them died and didn't have a proper heir, then the other one would take over as leader of the country.
Nice. Also known as a tontine, or also known as I'm definitely going to murder you as soon as I get my chance.
Our business agreement is drafted as a tontine. I'm terrified now. I should be in it.
Yeah, it is.
So if Harold died, Harthacnut would be king of Norway, and vice versa for England. Well, when Edward took over England, Harold was in the middle of trying to secure the Danish throne, so he didn't drop everything and claim England. But now he's getting older. He wanted to settle down in a place better than Norway, so he decided to go with a safety school.
York University, that track.
How dare you? How dare you?
This is great because he's actually going to York in a second. That's like a real thing. That's
I
gonna
know.
happen, right?
It's- yeah, right. Hardrada set sail with 300 ships and 10,000 men. He set sail in his flagship, Ormond, or the Serpent, and he stopped along the way to pick up a few more troops. They made landfall and rendezvoused with Tostig and his troops, and at this point they have like 15,000 men. And while Tostig didn't bring as many troops to the party here, he did offer Harold something that was very useful. Tostig was the old Earl of Northumbria before his exile, and this is the area of England that they're invading. So Tostig knew the lay of the land and where to hit the countryside to make it sting.
Yeah, because before that, Vikings just ran around screaming into empty fields, scaring the hell out of the sheep.
Right.
Nobody's...
Vikings.
Yeah. They were headed right for York. And just like a video game, they weren't going to walk right in or meet the final boss just yet. 2 sub-bosses awaited them. There are 2 earls in the area named Morcar and Edwin. The English forces tried to set up their line at Fulford, and it stretched from a nearby river to a marshy swamp. And this is kind of ideal, actually, for a defending force. There's one thing you don't want is for your enemy to circle around your line of defenders on the side. They call that a flanking maneuver, and it's really almost always bad for the people getting flanked. The natural boundaries of the battlefield help the defenders protect their flanks pretty well, or so they thought.
Oh, that sounds pretty good, Cecil, but can you describe the battle in a way that sounds like fucking?
Okay, you don't want to ram all your forces right down the middle without playing around a bit on the edges first?
Yeah.
Okay, I
What
said
you
Cecil,
needed-
but good.
I just wanted to give it a whirl.
What you need, Eli, is a WAP, a wet ass phalanx. And then, okay, so Harold Hardrada used his best troops to slam into the line and break through, not at the flank, but more towards the middle. And even though he was outnumbered, his army was full of veterans, and they pushed the defenders back and isolated a large group of them, shoving them into the water.
You touch water, you're out. You're out. That's the rule. You touched it.
60 pounds armor. Yeah, I got.
Yeah. The other flank crumbled as well, and as more and more invading troops filled the gaps, the English defenders fled back to the city and eventually surrendered. Now, normally, you go to a city and you occupy it.
See, now, when you phrase it in the second person, it sounds accusatory, Cecil. one would go to a city and occupy it.
But Tostig used to be the earl here, and I think he was angling for something like this again, and he decided not to raise the city. They negotiated with the town leaders, and they moved on. It's suspected that he wanted to keep this capital intact as much as possible, thinking he was probably going to be running it again, so why ruin it? Hardrada and Tostig knew that kicking this thing off with York was going to bring Tostig's brother, Harold Godwinson, running from the south to battle. They just didn't realize how quickly that was going to happen.
All right, well, damn it if Cecil didn't leave genuine tension there that I don't want to undercut with some pun-filled segue. So fuck it. We're just going to pause for apropos of nothing then.
Arthur Canute.
My lord, the king is dead.
Blast! Send them in.
His Lord Duke Edward of Mouthbaum.
My lord.
Edward, please sit down.
Thank you, my lord.
Baron Heath, the bitch tits of York.
Thank you. Wait, what?
Heath, come in. We must discuss the new king.
No. What'd that guy just say?
Haggett the Hagenant.
I feel like
Wonderful,
he
yes.
said something.
Right, that's all of us, gentlemen. We must. Actually, Heath, do you mind closing that door?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Baron Heath, the fat bitch tits of York.
Okay, he absolutely said something there. He made
Lord
a remark.
Heath,
You guys
the
heard that.
door. The door, please.
Right, so, yes, got the door.
Now, to the matter at hand. We've
Fat bitch tits and a big swingy bitch tits. The tits of a bitch.
to the matter at hand.
Bitch tits.
Okay.
And we're back. When we last left off, the King of Norway was reminding us just how relative greener pastures are as a concept by coveting England. But they already had themselves a king here in England. So what does Godwinson do, Cecil?
All right, Harold Godwinson, right after the death of Edward Confessor, basically ran right to the church and was crowned like a late-night drunken run to White Castle. And as they say, mo money, mo problems. As soon as his country is invaded by his exiled brother and the King of Norway, he's got to mobilize. But this is a good thing, kind of, because he was ready for an invasion. He just thought it was coming from Normandy, and the other guy, William the Bastard, would be leading it. So he's standing there on the southern coast, looking out over the channel, tapping his watch, waiting for an invasion when he gets word about York.
Okay, they're 15 minutes late now. 15 minutes late is rude, I would say, for an invasion, right? That's like rude. We should leave. Okay, 20 more minutes and I'm going to leave. I'm saying we leave. 20 minutes. This is ridiculous.
A surprise at the back door is not a great way to start the day for anyone. That's
Speak for yourself.
surprise. Okay.
So he knows he can't have his brother in the country raising the land and kicking up dust. And William, who's supposed to be there a couple of months ago, isn't coming across. And his troops, which had some conscripted farmers and such, were actually scheduled to be released from service. In fact, he sent some of them home on September 8th. With a dwindling army, no enemy in the south, and a north on fire, he had to act. He gathers his full-time soldiers, or housecarls.
No, I'm not sure we can say house Carls. Pretty sure that's a no.
And Thanes.
Okay, based on the spelling, I didn't think I could say that, but Thanes, I think I can get.
Yeah, Yeah, there's a GN in there, a weird GN as well. And these are all basically the veterans. And then they also had conscripted men. He gathers as many as he can and he heads north fast. And I know what you're thinking. How fucking fast could you possibly go in 1066? He leaves with his troops on September 21st, 1066, and he arrives in Yorkshire 4 days later. His troops marched day and night and covered 185 miles, and that's 45 miles a day.
Christ.
That's center of Chicago to center of Indianapolis, by the way. Almost dead ass on.
Yeah, it's and he's wild. These people are walking fast and carrying war gear.
Yeah, right.
And
He, fully encumbered. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and he actually surprised the invading army when he shows up.
It's just like, today is the day we. Fuck me, give me a second. My vengeance. I'm gonna throw up. Why do we wear so much armor? What is this for? You're just gonna push us in a river.
So there's lots of theories on why the invaders were caught with their pants down here, and it's possible that the 185 mile distance made them think there's no way that he could have made it there that fast. It could also have been bad intel, or it could have just been that the Vikings had invaded England and won a big fuck-all battle, and they were on a 4-day bender celebrating their victory at York. But whatever the reason, Harold Godwinson rides up with his troops, and the invading army doesn't have their armor on.
Guys, you still don't have the armor on? This is why we can't have casual Friday. You're abusing it. And there's army here. We look ridiculous.
How fucking long does it take to put on your armor? I get they were surprised in like oh shit, and I didn't think they'd be here today sort of a way, but like 15,000 dudes walking up to you doesn't seem like something you'd miss until the last minute.
Yeah, I Googled it, by the way. It said 20 minutes with a good squire to put it out. But before I read that, I was just picturing kind of like a NASCAR pit crew type thing. But apparently it takes a minute.
You guys hear anything? Does that sound like 15,000 people approaching? Just lay around some more.
The way this is written, though, I think a lot of times the Norse are basically saying, "Yeah, we totally lost that battle, but we didn't have our armor on." You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things like, "Oh man, I would have kicked your ass."
It was a whole thing.
I would have kicked your ass if I'd had my armor on. No, they got your ass kicked, and some asshole wrote about it afterwards, basically making excuses for you getting your ass kicked. So there's a lot of other legends
We're
around
not
this
stupid
battle.
in that tapestry later.
And there's a lot of other legends around this battle, and I think it might be time to talk about the sources we have for what happened. There's contemporary sources writing things down as they happen, and these are from both sides of the battle, the Scandinavian sources and English sources. And there's also a tapestry called the Bayeux Tapestry. Tapestry pedants, of course, are going to say it's actually an embroidered cloth, but whatever it is, it depicts the story.
Oh, great, Cecil. Now you lost us the tapestry pedants, base of our audience. Cecil.
And finally, there are 12th century sources that write about this about 50 to 100 years after it happened. So the sources are pretty biased or not writing at the time. Regardless of their validity, there's two absolutely awesome stories that come out of this Battle of Stamford Bridge. And I don't want to skip them. The first is what happens before it starts. So like I said, the invading army is not prepared. Harold Hardrada and Tostig Godwinson are on horseback, and they see a rider from the opposing side ride out to parley.
Okay, they're going to negotiate slowly now. It feels like you just attacked the army in sweatpants right away without doing like pre-game shit.
I don't think this actually happened either, but it's a great legend. He's cloaked. This rider's cloaked. He rides up, and he doesn't say a word to Hardrada. He instead turns to Tostig, and he says basically, you turn your forces against Hardrada, you can come back from exile and have your earldom back. And Tostig says, yeah, that's cool and all, but what are you going to offer my compatriot for his trouble? And the rider says, and it's hard to think of a more dead-ass line than this, quote, 7 feet of English ground as he's taller than other men, end quote.
Shit.
That's a baller.
Oh, shit. Super hot fire.
So Tostig, of course, refuses, and the rider rides off. And this is a quote. Quote, Hardrada was impressed by the rider's boldness and asked Tostig who he was, and Tostig replied that the rider was Harold Godwinson himself.
Oh, well,
quote.
then, yes, this didn't happen.
I know, right? Yeah, I know.
Yeah, like, can you imagine, like afterwards when he finds that out? Like, wait, what? Who was that?
That, sire, was our nemesis, Harold Godwinson in the flesh.
that was the guy who was in charge of the army opposing our invasion. That was him?
Yes,
that guy?
yes, one and the same, sir. And a right wit to boot, I must say.
Yeah, okay, indeed, but why didn't we just kill him?
Sir?
Yeah, kill him. He was right here. There's two of us. We could have just killed him and then, gone to lunch. Seriously, this was a missed opportunity, methinks.
Kill the enemy before the battle. You're a right card, sire.
No, you're right. That'd be dumb. Anyway, let's head back and tell the boys to get ready to be chopped into screaming bloody pieces.
That's right. Kill the king.
I know, stupid me.
It's pretty much exactly. I don't believe it happened either.
But it's awesome. Yeah, right.
But it's a great fucking story, right? It's a great story.
It's great. It's a great line.
Yeah. The other story, also probably not true, but I love it so much. So while the invading, unprepared army is set upon by the English, they start to form defensive positions. They also start retreating over this bridge. Well, this one big sumbitch pulls off a Gandalf. He basically says to the rest of the retreating army, don't worry, I'll hold them off. Now, this guy does have his armor on, according to legend. And so he's such a badass that he either just walks around with it on all the time or he's like one of those super annoying morning people. I don't know.
Anyway, wears camo just as a civilian.
He's like a fucking medieval Ted Nugent. Anyway, takes out a bearded axe and he blocks the bridge.
Yeah, his axe was on the DL. Kept a close sword friend around just to throw everyone off.
Yeah, went on vacations with a sword. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's a pretty cool looking axe, but I bet Cecil doesn't even know any more details about the weapons and armor. I bet that's
you
like
would
the
be
only thing he
wrong,
knows.
Keith. You would be wrong. Let me prove you wrong right now. So the best armored people on both sides of this battle would have had like a chainmail shirt and a chainmail coif or a hood. They would have maybe had a few hard pieces in other areas like the head, but it would have been mail or scale mail armor. Poor soldiers would have had boiled leather or some kind of thick padding.
Wait, do you mean Nerf? Because that sounds like Nerf.
Well,
it's like Nerf.
It's either Nerf or
like
nothing.
Quilted. Yeah, it's like
Sounds like me being a poor kid hockey player. Yeah. You get shin guards. This is Ladies' Home Journal and tape. You're fine.
There's just like one soldier with like a couch cushion on his back.
So the soldiers probably would have fought with swords and shields. The swords would have been long, one-handed swords made for hacking, not stabbing. And the shields would have been thick wood secured together with metal bosses or metal rims. And they would have either been completely round or round at the top and pointed at the bottom.
Okay, I would officially like to take back how ridiculous LARPers look. Apparently running around covered in foam and random chunks of armor is historically accurate.
It is.
So,
But, it doesn't make them look less ridiculous, though.
The Norsemen in this also used what was called a bearded axe. Now, the bearded axe is basically a giant-ass two-handed axe. The head was not symmetrical. Instead, it was longer at the bottom, thus calling it bearded. And it's such a big axe that it could decapitate horses. There's actually an image of this in the Bayeux Tapestry.
Okay, I actually looked up the Bayeux Tapestry. It looks like a 5-year-old tried to draw the script of Braveheart on a blanket.
It's really bad. It's so bad.
I actually looked up the axe, and there's a disconcerting number of websites, Cecil, that sell these axes and not reproduce. Like, this means right now there's a disconcerting number of people in their homes dreaming of decapitating either horses or Englishmen.
There's really not another use for it.
Ireland's
I got to
fun.
say, though, this tapestry is the funniest looking thing you've ever seen. You've made better art wiping barbecue sauce off your face with a napkin. It's the fucking ugliest
It
thing
doesn't
you've
even
ever
go
seen.
on the fridge. Like, no.
No, it goes right in the garbage. It goes right in the
I'm looking at
garbage.
it now. The horses are so awful.
It's terrible. It's the worst. It seriously looks like it's drawn by Mrs. Johnson's 3rd grade class. It's the worst thing you've ever seen.
All right, everybody, let's thank the soldiers.
Yeah. It's like they drew an army of hand chickens all marching across or whatever. It's fucking hilarious. So anyway, back to Nordic Gandalf. He takes his axe and he tries to give his side just a little time to get their armor on, and he guards the bridge. Now, supposedly, he kills 40 dudes that try to cross, just fucking slapping these guys down like toddlers. And all the while, one English soldier gets in a barrel or a small boat. There's conflicting reports. And then he floats under the bridge and he stabs this guy from underneath with a spear and kills him.
Just floating by. Hello, Viking. I'm just a normal guy on a normal barrel floating by for leisure. Ignore me. Stab you.
See, so I just got to point out that if I'm going to cover myself in any armor, the first thing I'm going to armor is the jolly.
Yeah.
What the fuck? I'm not going to die of a fucking little head wound. That's fucking ridiculous.
I love, too, that he's standing on this bridge, and it's probably wide enough for multiple people, but he's fighting these people one-on-one, and it takes another guy to come in. You're just like, come on, you can't fucking get this guy like 3 guys at a time. Tie his fucking whatever.
They couldn't just
got a
send like
spear
a
for
couple
Christ's
of
sakes.
archers to one end of the bridge and be like,
Yeah,
all right, we're
right,
going to start
yeah.
shooting you. All right.
Yeah.
We're getting close.
Yeah.
He
Anyway.
runs at him. They're like, no, okay. We're going back. Just a bunch of that.
Just do the barrel plan.
And evidently, this guy didn't give him enough time because there's only a slight delay in battle. It wasn't enough time for the invaders to get their armor on, but it was enough time for them to form a shield wall. And this is done by interlocking their shields together to form a single big barrier. So the English rush across the bridge, which seemed like a good choke point, but okay, whatever. And when they cross, they assemble and they rush at the shield wall. The battle itself lasts longer than it probably should for a group that isn't wearing armor.
English are just like, come on, they made Voltron? Are they allowed to make Voltron? They made Voltron.
So the battle rages for a while. Tostig dies. They never say how. They just say he died.
Well, yeah, based on the embroidered cloth, he either got smooshed by a truck or eaten by a dinosaur. So, yeah.
The invaders did get word back to a contingent of soldiers that were left with the 300 boats that basically read, holy fuck, help us. And so this group of Norsemen headed to the battle. And I guess they ran so fast, and this is a quote, some of the men were said to have collapsed and died of exhaustion upon reaching the battlefield.
Oh,
End
Jesus
quote.
Christ. Oh, good. Our reinforcement. Never mind.
Forget it.
It's Dave. Oh, fuck. Okay, yeah, you should have hydrated, man.
Yeah.
You got to hydrate. That's like first rule of Nordic Fight Club or whatever we do.
Have one of these Gatorade gummies. It'll help. Just take one of those.
Electrolytes, dude. I
Yeah.
tell you all the time, electrolytes.
The others that showed up plowed into the English, and they put up a good fight, and they slowed their advance sort of briefly, but they were outnumbered, and their allies were basically naked, so they lost. Hardrada at some point catches an arrow in his windpipe, and with no one leading them, the invaders are routed.
Okay, so they need one very specific leader guy to keep explaining the situation of fight the guys who are trying to kill you.
Stab!
Sorry, what?
No, hack. It's a hacking sword, not a stabbing sword. Oh, that's why we lost the last battle.
So they're chased into the water to drown, or they circle them in a field and slaughter them. Here's a quote. So many died in an area so small that the field was said to have been whitened with bleached bones 50 years after the battle. End quote.
See, now the fucked up thing about our job is that Cecil writes that, and then we all sit there going like, okay, what would be a good giant pile of human remains quip? 50-year-old pile
That
of
we haven't
bones.
already used.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
Boner.
What?
So the remaining invading soldiers that didn't die were allowed to leave as long as they pinky swore they wouldn't attack England again. And they got their asses kicked so bad that they came over in 300 boats, but they only needed 24 to sail home.
Wow. God damn.
You just know 12th century Heath was like calling dibs on 2 boats, so he had room to stretch out. Like,
Obviously. Make a catamaran. A little net down.
So after the Battle of Stamford Bridge, Harold Godwinson decided to take a nice break and have a feast up in Northumbria. And you're going to have to tune in next week to find out how well that went.
All right, so if you had to summarize what you've learned in one sentence, what would it be, Cecil?
If you exclude axe types, Pence's wife is the second best beard in history next to Michelle Bachmann.
Are you ready for the quiz, sir?
Absolutely. Let's do this.
all right, see, so this episode has obviously been full of some pretty silly names. But we're talking about England, and you've left some out. Which of the following is actually the name of a place in England? A. Tom Tits Bottom. B. Scratchy Bottom. C. Twat. Or D. Shitterton.
There's no Hartha-Canute? That's weird. Let's go with twat. I think it doesn't matter if it's real or not. That's a city I want to live in.
It's actually secret answer E. all of the above. They are all real places in England.
So then he's correct because he got C. It's any of
You
the-
are correct. Yes.
All right, Cecil, clearly dying gloriously in battle is a pretty sweet way to go, but is actually one of the most common causes of death for medieval fighting soldiers. A, impalement through the nutsack by a guy going over Niagara Falls. B, forgetting your Gatorade before running over to help your comrades.
That's a real one. Yeah.
Or C, zipping your dick in the fly of your armor because you were caught with your pants down.
The visual for A has to win that one for sure. Absolutely. So I'm going with A.
Got it again.
It's definitely my favorite level of that game. This is my favorite challenge.
All right, Cecil, I got one more for you. So these guys all just wanted to make out with each other, obviously. Which of the following is the best European nobility porn? A, the Marquis de Sodomy. B, Don't Worry About a Condom, I'm Baron. Or C, Two Earls, One Cup.
That was good.
Oh. Teeth, I'm surprised Debbie Does Palace isn't in this one.
That's pretty fucking
that's
good,
very
man.
good.
But Marquise de Sade, oh my gosh, that's fucking amazing. It's A. It's got to be A.
That is correct.
All right.
All right. Well, in that case, nobody wins, and I'm going to declare myself the winner so that I can make Cecil finish this story next week.
I promise I will.
All right. So for Cecil, Eli, Heath, and Tom, I'm Noah. Thank you for hanging out with us today. We're going to be back next week, and by then, Cecil will be an expert on the same thing, but more so. Between now and then, you can hear Tom and Cecil talk about stuff Heath and Eli and I already talked about on our shows over on Cognitive Dissonance, or you can listen to Heath, Eli, and I talk about shit that Tom and Cecil already covered on their show on the Scathing Atheist, the Skeptocrat, and to a far lesser extent, God-Awful Movies. We also have a podcast called D&D Minus, but it doesn't fit into that joke at all. Kind of fucks the whole thing up. And if you'd like to help keep this show going, you can make a per-episode donation at patreon.com/citationpod or leave us a 5-star review everywhere you can. And if you'd like to get in touch with us, check out past episodes, connect with us on social media, or check the show notes, be sure to check out citationpod.com.
All right, gentlemen, it is decided. Heath is king.
Long live King Bitch Tits.
Oh my God, I'm going to execute that guy so bad.
If you want to feel more connected to humanity and a little less alone, listen to Beautiful Anonymous. Each week, I take a phone call from one random anonymous human being. There's over 400 episodes in our back catalog. You get to feel connected to all these different people all over the world. Recent episodes include one where a lady survived a murder attempt by her own son. But then the week before that, we just talked about Star Trek. It can be anything. It's unpredictable. It's raw. It's real. Get Beautiful Anonymous wherever you listen to podcasts.